Hello and welcome to the Cinementalist podcast for cinementalist.com. My name's Andy. Sitting next to me is Floki, our bearded dragon mascot, and sitting opposite me is Liam. How are you, my friend?
I'm very well, thank you, my good sir.
Yeah? So sounding particularly chipper and upbeat this week?
No, I've returned to work after a fortnight off, and I've been very, very tired settling back in. I think it just goes to show how much I scramble about when I'm there and how much of a lazy fucker I am when I'm not. So,
How long did you have off again? 2 weeks?
Just a couple of weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like aching all over. I slept for about 10 hours last night.
You spent 2 weeks sitting on your ass and now you're completely out of shape.
Yes, that is exactly right.
That's a hell of a 2 weeks, man. You went hard.
Yeah, well, big time. No, I did. Oh, well, if only I could have all the net pay that I receive every month. I just want to receive that, but I want to do nothing.
Yeah.
But somehow I don't think my employers will go for that, unfortunately. So
I think we've got this all backwards, without going on a whole leftist communist rant or whatever. I think that's absolutely completely fine and normal. I hate that whole thing about, oh, you're so lazy. No, of course you want money to do nothing.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want money to do nothing?
Yeah, I was actually, without going too mad or left off, I was listening to The Abolition of Work by Bob Black earlier. He makes a very compelling argument, eloquent argument about why work is a load of shit. And when we should focus on ludic play, fulfilling recreational stuff.
I mean, I like to work, but I like to work at things that I like doing. Not being told what to do by somebody else to make them money. Fuck you.
Yeah, he talks about...
I'm 33 years old. I spent most of my life doing that. I mean, I'm over it.
Talks
I'm really
about
over it.
Well, he uses terms like factory fascism and office oligarchy.
Yeah.
But, that is, we just need to do things that are fun.
We've literally started off with like the Cinementalist Manifesto.
Yeah. Lazy, anarchic bastards.
There are no more Republicans listening.
Good.
Guarantee. Oh, well, there goes the last one.
Go away.
Yeah. Anyways, yes, we have films. After last week's Upside Down podcast, I think we're back to our usual format this week. Which
I know.
News.
That felt bizarre, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Editing it was weird as well. It just felt like the wrong way round. But 2 film reviews from Liam, some TV of the week from me, and we kick off with some news. So let's get going with that, shall we?
Yes, indeed.
First article in the news this week. This is an article from The Hollywood Reporter. Bryan Cranston, Hope Davis, Jeffrey Wright, and Lev Schreiber have joined the ever-growing cast of Wes Anderson's newest movie. The Untitled project is currently shooting in Spain and features many of the auteur's usual grab bag of thespians, including Adrian Brody, Bill Murray, Jason Schwartzman, and Tilda Swinton. New to the Anderson repertoire are Margot Robbie and Tom Hanks, while Scarlett Johansson, who previously worked with Anderson on his stop-motion film Isle of Dogs, is having her first live-action collaboration with him. Rupert Friend is also on the roll call. So this seems to be, whatever this Untitled Wes Anderson project is, this seems to be all the American actors that aren't in Killers of the Flower Moon are in this thing instead. I mean, that is a hell of a cast list, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a pretty impressive roster of names there. I mean, Rupert Friend is English, but that's just a very pedantic quibble.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah. But it just seems to be every other actor is in this as well. I mean, Adrian Brody, Bill Murray, Tilda Swinton, Hope Davis, Bryan Cranston. I mean, those are ridiculously big names. How big's the budget on this thing? I know Wes Anderson commands a lot of sort of financial weight in the movie-making business, but that's a hell of a payroll.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you know what I'm hoping, for no reasons other than sadism, is that the budget is only about 50 quid, but he's just got so much bad dirt on people. He's just like, you're going to be in another one of my weird films, whether you like it or not.
Well, yeah, Wes Anderson is known for making weird, but often quite brilliant stuff.
I like a lot of his work. He's made some great stuff, but I mean, I mean this from a place of love. He's a fucking weirdo.
Yeah,
but that's
we all.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing at all.
But yeah, what's interesting as well, I think, is that a lot of these actors have previously worked with Wes Anderson. So he must be doing something right if they're willing to just sign on him. Everyone wants to be in the latest Martin Scorsese film for obvious reasons. But Wes Anderson seems to keep actors on his books, so to speak. I mean, if you had a bad experience working with him, you wouldn't come back.
I think it was a couple of months ago now I rewatched the fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yeah, that's surprisingly brilliant.
Yeah, that's a hell of a, but when you're kind of, I don't know, 1 in the morning when you're quite drunk and I think I'm going to stick on the fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yeah.
And that's a weird, I mean, it's a weird film anyway, but it's particularly bizarre watching it then.
It was a huge surprise, that film. Really massive surprise.
Oh, it's going to be, Grand Budapest Hotel, fucking loads of stuff. I mean, Moonrise Kingdom, it's great, yeah. No, fair, hopefully it's It's as good as the best of his oeuvre.
Yeah, hopefully so. Got an article here from Variety.com. I found this really, really interesting. This is about Hollywood stars' current salaries and how they make their money. And it's got a list of the top earners at the moment. But it reveals something that I was sort of aware of, but it put it very, very nicely. So let me read out the article here. A decade ago, Hollywood stars knew their place on the A-list was secure when their film topped the box office. Today, success can be measured by views on Netflix or a vague press release touting a movie's popularity on HBO Max. The digital revolution may have changed things dramatically, but don't lose any sleep over the financial statements of your favourite actors. Film stars continue to be paid handsomely for their duties and are often able to earn much more by leaving the big screen behind and diving headfirst into streaming. A $20 million per picture paycheck has been industry standard for top talent since 1996, when Jim Carrey stunned Hollywood by earning that sum for his dark comedy The Cable Guy. That number still stands for headlines of movies made for theatrical release, including upcoming projects starring Sandra Bullock, Brad Pitt, Chris Hemsworth, and it's a sliding scale. Chris Pine will earn close to $11.5 million for the Paramount franchise hopeful Dungeons & Dragons, and Robert Pattinson picked up $3 million for his turn in The Batman, a grittier take on the comic book icon. 5 years ago, many of these paydays would be the top of the heap. Now they're dwarfed by the riches offered by Netflix, Amazon, and other streamers. Daniel Craig, for instance, is walking off with north of $100 million thanks to the eye-popping sale of 2 sequels to Rian Johnson's Knives Out. His windfall can be attributed to the fact that Netflix compensates movie stars for the projected back-end box office participation they would reap if their movies were released exclusively in theatres. Add to that salary bumps Craig would have received for the second and third films in the murder mystery series, and the outgoing James Bond is sitting on a 9-figure check.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Holy shit.
This is really, really interesting. This is the way the payment of the movie business in terms of actors is changing, is they're now getting, it's not just an upfront sum anymore. I mean, you used to get residuals. Things like, famously, Harrison Ford agreed to take residuals from Star Wars rather than a one-off sum. Everyone else thought it would flop and he didn't. And to this day, I think he still makes money from a small percentage of whatever sales Star Wars makes. But this seems to be becoming increasingly common now with switching over to the streaming market. You get a figure for potential box office takings and you get a figure for a potential streaming revenue. And the streaming revenue factor massively dwarfs, hugely dwarfs your initial one-off payment. So I've got a list here of, it's kind of incredible actually. Daniel Craig for the Knives Out sequel. So this isn't including the money he made on the first one, $100 million plus. Dwayne Johnson's getting $50 million for Red One. Will Smith made $40 million on King Richard. $40 million for Denzel Washington, The Little Things. Leonardo DiCaprio, $30 million for Don't Look Up. Jennifer Lawrence, $25 million for the same film. That's a bit of, the patriarchy's still in play, isn't it? Ryan Gosling, $20 million for The Grey Man. Chris Hemsworth, $20 million for Thor, Love and Thunder. It's a huge, staggering amount of money.
Yeah, man.
And there's hidden factors in there as well. I mean, these are sort of estimated figures as to no one's actually going to see the inside of these contracts.
I mean, you say Denzel got $40 million for The Little Things. That film didn't deserve to turn any money whatsoever. It was shit.
Yeah,
fair play to him though. He walked away with the golden egg.
Nice little bit of the article here at the end. One of the only stars enjoying the best of both worlds in terms of having a huge upfront payment and a huge streaming revenue payment is Tom Cruise. The actor is among a handful of traditional movie stars who demand first dollar gross on their back-end participation, meaning Cruise gets paid before his studio earns a dime from box office receipts. This entitles him to tens of millions of dollars in bonuses after certain box office milestones are achieved over the life of his films. He's earning $13 million for his upfront acting fee in this year's Top Gun Maverick from Paramount, but that number will fly much higher if the film is a hit. And it definitely will be.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
there's no if about it, really, is there?
These are all guesstimations, but it seems to be that your upfront fee, Tom Cruise has a particularly high one, but the upfront fee and you look on the IMDb how much they were paid for each picture, that's becoming increasingly lower because the back-end fee is becoming absolutely ridiculous. And that's why everybody's jumping on board with the streaming platforms, actor-wise at the very least. So a lot of money out there in the movie business still. People going, the end of cinema tickets and box office sales, it's going to hurt the movie industry. There's no money left in it anymore. There absolutely is. It's just changing platforms.
The money goes where it wants to, doesn't it?
The desire is still there. People are consuming more content than ever. It's just changing from bums on seats into bums on sofas. Yeah. And I'm coining that, by the way, before anybody decides to use it.
What's that?
Bums on sofas rather than bums on seats.
A sofa is a seat, though, really.
Well, yeah, okay, fine. I knew
Sorry.
you'd be pedantic.
I'm an arsehole.
I was this close to copywriting a phrase. A nice little bit here. This is an article from RottenTomatoes.com, funnily enough. Taika Waititi's animated Flash Gordon will be live action instead. In the summer of 2019, we first learned that Taika Waititi had been hired to write and eventually direct an animated adaptation of the classic serial sci-fi hero Flash Gordon. This week, producer John Davis was doing the PR rounds to promote Jungle Cruise, and he gave a surprising Flash Gordon update that might actually raise the reboot's profile considerably. Instead of being an animated feature as originally planned, Taika Waititi's Flash Gordon will be live action. Although there were 3 Flash Gordon serials from 1936 to 1940, the character has only headlined one live-action feature film in the 80 years since, which was the 1980 Flash Gordon, like they put in here, certified fresh at 83%. Starring Sam Jones with the soundtrack by Queen. We can probably expect to wait a few years for Waititi's film, however, as he also has Thor, Love and Thunder, the soccer movie Next Goal Wins, We're Wolves, which is a mockumentary about werewolves, and his untitled Star Wars movie, all currently in the works.
Did you say the mockumentary is called We're Wolves?
Yeah, werewolves, as in werewolves, werewolves.
Is it also supposed to be, is that, because it sounds like werewolf in a Kiwi accent,
Yeah.
We're Wolves.
Yes, that's true. Yeah,
There's a werewolf over there.
And also spinning off of the success of What We Do in the Shadows and the TV series, because there's the comedy werewolves in that as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as I'm concerned...
Sounds like good fun.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Taika Waititi can do no wrong. I have yet to see a bad piece of work or a bad performance from him.
Do you know what? I still come across really negative reviews of Jojo Rabbit. And
really?
Personally,
I haven't seen any.
Because I remember we watched it together, and I thought it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I thought.
And he was brilliant as Hitler. It was just a really, really. It had great absurdist comedy in there, but it was also really touching, and it was just very off the beaten track. And I loved it. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah,
I see a lot of people shitting on it.
I thought it was heartbreaking as well. I mean, obviously without giving anything away from the film, but the shoes.
Yes.
Just that bit just is a gut punch out of absolutely nowhere. And you're having such a good time with the comedy of the film. It's such a clever thing to be able to suddenly pull it back and make it as dark and as serious as that film got. And then go back to light-hearted comedy, except now it's got a huge element of pathos. Right,
yeah, that tonal
really
shift.
Intelligent writing.
The tonal shift doesn't hurt it in any way. It actually bolsters it. It's a really, really well commandeered piece of work, I think. But yeah.
I mean, meaning as well. I mean, a lot of articles are being written about Taika Waititi's untitled Star Wars movie. I've been meaning to include them on the podcast, except the problem is we don't really know anything about it. And the most recent article I saw with him, he doesn't really know much about it either, to be honest. It's apparently...
That's an interesting start.
It's apparently a script that's in his desk drawer that every time he's got a gap in his schedule, he pulls out and he's been working on it. So he's like, I've got most of it fleshed together, but it's all subject to change. So you're looking at a minimum time frame for it will be 3 years because the script isn't even finished yet, but he's very, very happy with it. And he did some fantastic episodes of The Mandalorian as well, not just doing voice acting, but direction. And I believe he was involved in the writer's table as well, because all of the directors did Did you watch that making of Mandalorian, the Disney Plus thing?
I can't say I have, unfortunately.
Really, really recommend that because it's great. Seeing the reason The Mandalorian works so well is seeing the passion of these individual directors and how they individually understand Star Wars far better than Lucas ever did. I mean, that's why Mandalorian's got that Star Wars feel.
Everybody really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely true. But Taika Waititi more than most, I think, and he's able to inject humor in really interesting and creative ways. So yeah, anything he does really. I mean, the Flash Gordon film as well just sounds to me like it's going to suit his sense of humor really, really well.
Is there any sort of big hot celebrity potato playing Ming the Merciless? Or?
That would be a really fun bit of casting, wouldn't it? Yeah. I'd imagine he's got some people in mind. And yeah, a lot of this stuff seems to be in sort of pre-production, about to go into production. I imagine he's been very busy putting all this stuff together for post-pandemic life. And we're sort of almost there now, aren't we, with vaccination checks on sets and things like that.
Yeah.
So we're about to see a lot of these long talked about projects, not just Taika Waititi's, but just about every creative person working in the film business. Everybody's been beavering away writing. So we might have a bit of a gap of a year or so. We're going to start seeing some really, really interesting stuff, actually. I mean, what a perfect thing if you're a writer to suddenly have a year where you can't really do much of your other work, but you can sit down in the comfort of your own home and put something together. We're going to start seeing those come through, and I'm really excited for that. You're going to get some great writing.
Devastating global pandemic in a twisted way. It's kind of a gift.
Yeah, there's that old thing as well, isn't there, about after every single plague, there is a renaissance, if you look throughout history.
Yeah.
We may be about to see a creative renaissance. I hope so, anyway.
Fingers crossed.
And my last article here, this is from the AV Club. It's been nearly 20 years and at least one plate of ruined spaghetti since the release of 8 Mile. But Eminem will finally get the chance to flex his acting chops once more. The rapper has been cast as Richard White Boy Rick Wersch Jr., the drug dealer turned FBI informant in an upcoming drama for Stars called BMF about the Black Mafia family. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, who has quite a few shows that chronicle the gritty history of the drug trade under his belt, is set to executive produce the new series. BMF is inspired by the real story of brothers Demetrius Big Meech and Terry Southwest T. Flannery. The pair grew up in 1980s Detroit, which is of course Eminem's hometown and home to the aforementioned 8 Mile Road, and they experienced success in the drug trade that was unmatched at the time. The Flannerys became a little bit like neighborhood celebrities, and their stature and visibility skyrocketed once they began using the profits they made in the drug world to fund their hip-hop ventures.
I mean, because they already did like the White Boy Rick thing, like, what was it, a year or two ago? It
has been done before.
Had like McConaughey in it, I think, is the kid's dad or some shit like that.
Yeah, we did a special not too long ago now, a few months, where we talked about musicians and doing acting turns. So essentially, performances we liked from musicians. There's always a surprising thing when a successful musician can turn around and go, no, actually, I can act as well. You think, you jammy bastard. How can you be, to make the conversion? I mean, there's a lot of bad conversions as well. There's a lot of bad cameos from musicians turning up in things. I was watching an episode of New Girl the other day where Prince turns up in it, and Prince can't act. But a lot of musicians can. And one of the films we highlighted, actually, was 8 Mile and Eminem's performance, which was genuinely good. He genuinely can provide some acting chops and bring something emotional and deep to a piece. So I'm quite excited to see this. And you know what? 50 Cent as well isn't a bad producer. He's done some interesting work. So I think there's every possibility that this will be an interesting piece.
Yeah, I'll be on the lookout for it because I do, I like the sort of, rise and fall, quasi-success tales, usually with a lot of crime and grit and nastiness in there is my absolute bag.
Yeah, it's bound to be that as well. And the Stars Network as well. I mean, people used to laugh at the Stars Network. And over recent years, they've sort of upped their game a bit. Their production values are quite good these days. I really liked Black Sails, for example. I thought Black Sails was a very underrated show. First season was a bit ropey, but after that, it really, really turn into something quite special. So
there's loads of stuff that gets like sniggered at early on that propels.
Yeah, everybody's got to start somewhere, haven't they? And, the Stars is now, I mean, obviously they're not, I don't think you could put them hand in hand with something like HBO or whatever, but they have put out some really good projects, and they definitely, over the years, they've sort of built up a bit of a reputation now where I think they can garner higher budgets and they're getting more advertising money, and I think we'll see more and more great stuff coming out of the Stars Network, hopefully so anyway. Yeah, like I said, Black Sails I thought was awesome.
Yeah, good luck to them. Yeah,
good luck to them indeed. Also fuck them because they're a big corporate interest, but at the same time, make some good stuff and we'll review it well. Okay, that's enough news from me this week. I've been babbling on long enough. Liam, let's get back to the regular format. I believe you have a couple of film reviews for us.
I certainly do, mate. Well, I toddled off to the Odeon last Sunday for the first time in a decent while, actually. I haven't been to the cinema in a few months because I was rather desperate to check out Don't Breathe 2. Now, we watched the original Don't Breathe down our watering hole some years ago.
We did indeed, yeah.
Were you a fan of the first one?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. It was with the blind guy, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Stephen Lang, Norman Nordstrom, the blind man.
I remember it had a very distinctive visual style to it.
Distinctive.
A lot of blue colour tones.
It's it was a film that I really, really loved. The first Don't Breathe 2016 because I think I really love the way it's shot, and I just think it's atmospherically wonderful. I think the soundtracks are great. I really like all the performances. It's one of those a thriller that feels as much like a horror film as your average like top drawer horror film. Even though there is no supernatural occurrences. It's got the spine-tingling, palpitation-inducing dread, not like a sort of vicariously I'm shitting my pants because there's a brick shit house with a baseball bat, but I'm shitting my pants because there is just something, there's something seemingly inhuman here.
If I remember correctly, it had sort of a moral duplicity thing going on as well, in that it was sort of a home invasion, but you could sort of see things from the guy who was being invaded and the kids invading the home, who's worse kind of thing. It was playing like a moral game.
I think it had a really great handle on moral ambiguity, because you start out thinking that certain parties are nasty shits, but then along the way you think, well, actually, who is the nastiest shit?
I love it when a film throws like a moral quandary like that.
We unearth, you unearth things in the first one where you're like, oh shit, that's fucked up. Well, so it heralded a sequel, and this time around it's directed by Rodo Ciegues. Rodo Ciegues was the script writer alongside Fede Alvarez, Fede Alvarez directed the first film. Along with he also did 2013's Evil Dead, which I was not a fan of, but I think he somewhat redeemed himself with Don't Breathe, Alvarez. But yes, so Ciegues has taken over directorial duties. So I don't really want to spoil the first one for anyone who hasn't seen it, but essentially in the first movie, a trio of thieving delinquents. They break into the home of the blind man, played by Stephen Lang. He's a Gulf War veteran, and he's an ex-Navy SEAL. He was blinded during a tour of combat, and it was released in local media that he has recently received a $300K settlement because of the wrongful death of his daughter in a traffic accident. These three little shits, they break into his house looking to rob him, but they quickly discover that just because he's blind doesn't mean he's an easy target. He's actually the diametric opposite of an easy target, and a very, very tough, scary, nasty, resourceful man indeed, who is very talented at defending himself and taking people out. So they have a doozy of a time in there. Well, basically, without going into too much specific spoilers about that, the blind man doesn't perish in the first film, otherwise there wouldn't be a sequel axiomatically.
Yeah, I mean, he's on the posters.
Yeah, that's all I'll say.
I don't think that's too much of a
spoiler.
spoiler.
But if you haven't checked out the first Don't Breathe, please do, because I do think it's a very, very worthy film indeed. But in the sequel, we have Norman Nordstrom, the blind man, and he is living with his young adopted daughter named Phoenix, played by Madeline Grace. And he seems to be, strangely enough, he seems to be quite a doting dad and a caring one, but he's very, very overly protective. He's a very strict and overly protective father, because he gets very, very anxious and trepidatious about Phoenix going out on her own. And in the opening of the film, we showed that, there's a house fire, and Phoenix, when she's just something like, maybe 3 or 4 years old, possibly, she's crawling away from this billowing, like smoke and flame-ridden house. And the blind man actually finds her. And he just decides to, nobody else seems to be around for her. So he just decides to, fuck it. This child's probably going to be adopted by the state and lead a miserable life. I'll bring her, because he has strong paternal instincts. He's like, I'll just bring her up as my own. And so they're spending every day. He subjects Phoenix to a strange form of discipline, in that, she asked to go into town. And he's like, you can only go into town if you complete certain chores, such as, and it's like in one sequence, it shows her completing some sort of quite mad obstacle course in which she is chased by their pet Rottweiler Shadow.
Holy shit! So pretty sadistic then.
Yeah. Well, I don't. He doesn't do it. He doesn't do it because he wants to see his daughter in pain. He does it because he wants to improve her reflexes and improve her. I'm not saying it's good, but his specific intent is not to hurt her. It is to toughen her up. He doesn't want her to be mauled to death by the dog. He wants her to be acutely vigilant and always on the lookout for potential dangers. Again, not saying it's not pathological. I think it is, but we're talking about a guy who's a little bit messed up in the head.
Sure.
It's reasonable to say. But one night, Norman, the blind man, and Phoenix, they are beset by a gang of rather nasty invaders. Now, obviously, in the first film, they were not nasty little shit delinquents, but with this time, we're talking about the real fucking McCoy. They're like a gang of meth-dealing organ traffickers, and they decide to break into Norman's home and abduct Phoenix. And I won't go into the reasons why, but they abduct Phoenix and they attack Norman. But would you know it? These people, even though they are very mean and nasty themselves, they have no idea that who they are fucking dealing with, because despite the fact that Norman is a blind man, he is also a phenomenally dangerous person in his own right. And somebody has got his little girl, and he will stop at nothing to track her down and get her back and completely thwart their intentions. And as anyone who has seen the first film will attest to, he has very novel brutality in his approach to such proceedings. So fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
I need to, because there are many reveals in this film. I don't really want to spoil too much for the audience.
Oh, really? Because that does sound quite straightforward. But there's a few twists.
Yeah, there's a few twists and turns in it. And I just don't really want to give too much. I don't want to give all the film away. And it's so frustrating talking about a sequel. You know, I don't want to go over all of the events of the first Don't Breathe, because as everyone listening knows, we fucking despise ruining things for people that deserve to serve as a wow, or that's, or even if it's not particularly, even if they're not particularly wowing moments, the film is predicated on people not being aware going in. I don't really want to give any of those away. So yes, the blind man, he has got to, be the world's most badass dad and save his little girl from this gang of scum. And there's a lot of surprising developments on the way. So it's kind of like, I suppose it's maybe a little bit comparable to Taken, although it's not as fucking goofy as Taken, I don't think. I can just take Stephen Lang so much more seriously than I can Liam Neeson. Sorry, any Neeson fans out there. So, Don't Breathe 2. Yes, the first film is infinitely superior. Let's get that right off the bat. This film does not hold a candle to the first one whatsoever. Did I enjoy it? Yeah, ephemerally, while I was experiencing Don't Breathe 2, I was enjoying it because it is an audience-pleasing setup. It's got some really decently executed and suspenseful action sequences. It follows the sort of the action, righting a wrong, rescuing an innocent, hunting down the bad guys formula. It does follow that successfully. It's tonally right. There were a few moments where I was sitting on one arse cheek because the hunting around and is there about to be a massive fucking bloody gory ruck off. It does have that nailed down. I enjoyed the way they did that. It doesn't really I would say it doesn't try to be anything that it isn't, but there is one regard in which the film suffers, and I wish it didn't, but it felt really weird trying to accept Norman Nordstrom, the blind man, as a protagonist to root for. Because, as you know, if you've seen the first film, he is a very psychopathic guy.
Mm.
He does some really, really fucking messed up shit. I mean, phenomenally messed up. This is somebody with a severe psychopathology, as far as I'm concerned. And to have him go from that to just being a taciturn and grizzled badass, but one who is actually fundamentally a good dad, and he just has a few sharp edges, but he does have a heart underneath it all. That transition just felt really bizarre, man. It's, as I say, ephemerally in the moment, it's perfectly serviceable as an action thriller, and you do root for him, considering what he's up against and what he's trying to achieve. You do hope that he wins. But in the context of the first movie, without which this would obviously not exist, it just feels so bizarre. I've heard a lot of people going like, it's like they've T2'd him, because in the first one, Terminator, the 800 was the villain, in Judgment Day, he's the hero. But I would consider this different than that. I would consider this more along the lines of, some people may think it's an extreme comparison, but as far as I'm concerned, it would be like having a sequel to The Silence of the Lambs, where, James Gum, Buffalo Bill, survived, and in the second one, he's a a troubled introvert who needs to tap into his buried moral compass.
It sounds like it's messed with the thing.
It has.
The primary thing that made Don't Breathe, the original, quite good. As we mentioned, that switching back and forth between who's worse.
Because even though, like in the first movie, even though the blind man's actions, the actions that are unearthed, even though there is a twisted logic offered for them from the standpoint of his character, it still doesn't mean that they can be in any way empathized with, because his actions are horrific. You're dealing with a very fucking disturbed and dangerous individual. You know, one who is ruthless and one who would not actually, if you the least bit familiar with, antisocial personality disorder, for example, or malignant narcissism, this is not a person who would make a good dad. So to have him in the sequel as a sort of grizzled loner who just wants to raise his little girl in peace and make sure she's on the up and up about how dangerous the world is, it doesn't follow on well enough from the first film. Stephen Lang, I love Stephen. Stephen Lang is good in the role. He's as good in the role as he was in the first one. No question about that. But just, as a piece, it's entertaining in and of itself in the moment, but taken in conjunction with the first film, which I think is necessary, it doesn't work in the big picture, unfortunately, which is a shame, because I was really interested in this one, because I really enjoyed the first Don't Breathe. And it was just, I was walking home from the cinema just thinking, like, that was just odd. What they did there was odd, so I mean,
I might check it out.
It will give you your action.
It sounds like a positive review with caveats.
Yeah. It will give you your action kick if you want to see motherfuckers being taken down in, well done action sequences and good suspense and some pathos. It does have that, but it's just the movie that it's following on from it ultimately thwarts that intention. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to turn a really bad guy into a fundamentally good one who's just very rough around the edges. It doesn't make any bloody sense, because you're talking about a really bad guy.
That's another quote for the poster, isn't it?
Yeah.
CINEMENTALIST podcast. It doesn't make any bloody sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any bloody sense. Yeah. But it's, is it worth a once over? Yes, but the first film, great. Second one, it's just it's daft. It's just daft. But then, another one, second viewing of the week. This is one I've been looking forward to for a while, actually. I tuned into Beckett, which is the new film on Netflix starring John David Washington. It was due for cinema release, and its original title was Born to be Murdered.
Yeah, Beckett is better.
Beckett is better, isn't it? Yeah, I thought Born to be Murdered was a bit weird.
It's not often I agree with the film changing its title in production, but
because I was looking up upcoming thriller films, and I noticed Born to be Murdered. What the fuck is that all about? And I noticed that it starred John David Washington, and I read the synopsis, and I thought, that sounds pretty intriguing to me. But retitled Beckett, and yes, quite sensibly, I would say. This is directed by Ferdinando Cito Filomarino. This stars aforementioned Washington. Oh, Denzel's kid. I was thinking about just referring to him as Denzel's kid, but that's a bit demeaning. No, I think he's flourishing in his own right.
Since Tenet, I mean, he's got his own thing now.
Mr. John David Washington, sir. He stars as the titular Beckett. He's an American tourist, and he's holidaying with his girlfriend April, played by Alicia Vikander of Ex Machina fame. And they're on vacation in Epirus in Greece. They initially they book a hotel in Athens, but they're warned that there's going to be a political protest there in a few days, and it's going to be a very, very rowdy and unpleasant one. And so they think, well, fuck that. No, let's find a hotel somewhere. Let's find somewhere to stay much further down the road than that, because we're here trying to enjoy ourselves. Can't be dealing with that bullshit. So they managed to find a place, and they take off during the middle of the night. And they're just going along like one of these, very backcountry bumpkin motorways. And the car totals. They get into a really bad accident. It's like an absolute fucking mess. Beckett survives. Unfortunately, April doesn't. So right off the bat, it's a pretty damn nasty tragedy. But Beckett manages to crawl out of the car with rather grievous injuries. And as he's getting out of the car, he notices sort of like a cottage by the roadside, and there's a young boy. He spots the young boy, and the young boy is sort of being concealed and hurried away by some people inside. And so he's completely delirious and in complete and utter shock. And so he manages to contact the authorities, and he's taken to hospital. And he's informed that April has unfortunately passed away during the accident. And he's gets in contact with his relatives. He's utterly beset by emotional turmoil. And he's approached, when he's being questioned, because obviously, preliminary police involvement, he's being questioned by them. And as he's being questioned, this mysterious, rather burly, bearded policeman walks into the room, and he notices Beckett, and he just starts acting a little bit strange. And eventually Beckett is released from, not even really custody, but he's gone through all of these procedures. And he goes back to the site where he noticed the boy, where the car totaled and April killed, and he intends to kill himself. This is a phenomenal shock to the system. He intends to kill himself. And the same bearded policeman and a blonde woman show up, and they start shooting at Beckett. They pull out their pistols and they just start firing at him. And so he scrambles off, and what follows is a very arduous trek through rural localities of Greece in an attempt to get to Athens and reach the US embassy, all the while discovering burgeoning details about how this sighting of this young kid has inadvertently embroiled him in a potential fascist political conspiracy, and he is a loose end that essentially needs to be tied up. And along the way, he garners the help of Lena, who is a political activist, played by the wonderful Vicky Creeps from Phantom Thread. And he has to try to unearth what the hell is happening, how we might be able to evade it, whilst also dealing with the awful shock of losing the woman he loves during what was supposed to be an idyllic getaway from it all. So yes, it's quite a standard paranoid thriller, man on the run setup. Yeah. This film doesn't reinvent the wheel in terms of political/conspiracy thrillers. But I liked it, man. I was looking forward to this one for a while, and I did, it's nothing to shout about, but I did like it. I think it offers something very solid in terms of what it's trying to do. Because number one, it is patterning itself after a lot of 1970s paranoid thrillers, stuff like 3 Days of the Condor, a lot of, back when, during the new Hollywood template for paranoid thrillers, where things did burn a lot slower. And it was as much about the character and their responses to the world around them as much as the events happening to them, maybe even if not more so. And I think Beckett actually achieved that quite admirably. I mean, it's got the director of photography was Sayombu Muktiprom. The movie was shot around Athens and Epirus. And you're talking about, as far as I'm concerned, so you're talking about some really exquisite cinematography here. It utilises rural parts of Greece too. It really compounds the sort of nightmarishness of what is happening to Beckett. One thing that Washington does really well, Beckett is just an everyman. This is not, everyday normal guy gets involved in some really murky, dangerous shit where he's got very nasty people after him, and all of a sudden he becomes a resourceful badass. He is just a normal guy who is obviously in a phenomenal state of shock, and he's very scared, and he suffers the way a normal guy does. He gets injured, he pisses his pants, he just about narrowly avoids death through flukery, essentially. He's not a fighter. He's not a fucking, a danger Houdini. He doesn't just get out of things unscathed. He's not suave. He's just your average dude. And he's being tailed by some very, very horrible antagonists. It's another strength of the film. There's no real gratuitous violence, but the people who are after him are just in a nicely crystalline way. They are just ruthless. And they will stop at nothing to try and hunt him down and make him to mincemeat. And I just think that the film, it invites the viewer to vicariously share Beckett's terror, because also, I mean, the Greek in the film, several characters speak Greek, and I actually liked this touch. I was a bit like, at first, but one touch I really liked. The Greek is not subtitled, because it makes you feel as alienated as Beckett. He's wondering what the fuck is going on around
I sort
him.
of love it when a film does that, and it also makes me panic slightly in case the subtitles aren't working.
Well, no. Well,
Am I supposed to be
No,
understanding
I
this?
checked because I watched this on Netflix and I went to the sorry, I went to the subtitle option and said like, yeah, I thought exact same thing as you. I thought, are we supposed to know what they're saying? But no, we aren't. And I do, and the intention there was to make you feel as without a hope and as panicked as Beckett. And because of like, the way that Washington conveys sort of instantaneous PTSD, I would say I really, really like the way that he did it. And it's I think it's a really, really good ride. It won't surprise you. It doesn't have an outstandingly original screenplay or anything, but I think for what it is, it's a solid paranoid thriller. It is like sad and it is scary. And I think that it does, that vicarious panic. I think that Beckett does that well, and it's gorgeous to look at, and it goes along at a really nice pace, and a pace that is evocative of old style 1970s slow burn paranoid thrillers. And I liked it. I thought it was a job well done.
That was cool. Yeah. I'll be checking that one out.
Worth checking out. Yeah.
Okay, then. Well, that brings me on to TV of the week. God, it feels good to say that again.
Back to normality.
Everything's back in its right place. I feel centered within the universe right now. Somewhat.
We're very conservative at heart, aren't we? Things need to be how they were before.
No, I wouldn't say I was, but then, certain things screw me up. And I'm like, am I just becoming conventional in my old age? I don't know. Just like things to be as they are. Yeah. Yes, TV of the week. And this week I've got it's an Israeli-American Netflix original thriller to review.
Oh, okay.
This has been riding the top 10 on UK Netflix for ever since it came out at the start of this week, actually. And I believe it's doing quite well internationally as well. And this is called Hit and Run.
Hit and Run?
Yeah, seen this in your top 10 on Netflix?
I can't say I have, actually.
No, it's it seems to be causing quite a lot of hype at the moment. As I said, Israeli-American and created and written by Avi Issacharoff, Leo Raz, Dawn Presswich, and Nicole Yorkin. And it's absolutely brand new and spanking, and I'm going to tell you what happens in it now.
Thank you.
It's nice when someone says thank you. Yeah. Yes, so this opens with a US prison cell and a very large man sitting within it. This is Sergei Azulai, played by Leo Raz. And he's a big, bald, kind of a Joe Rogan-looking dude, actually, covered in a lot of tattoos. He's sitting in his cell. The cell door opens, and a guard tells him essentially to clear out and go for his exercise in the yard because they're doing their regular cell searches. And Sergey doesn't really want to go, but he's sort of kicked out of this cell. He goes out into the prison yard. He's walking around with his hands in his pockets, and he's surrounded on all sides by people that are side-eyeing him and looking him up and down. He's confronted by a really huge guy with a beard, even bigger than he is, who's obviously about to fight him. So Sergeyev puts his hands up, ready to defend himself, when he is struck from behind in the back of the leg with a shiv and beaten to the ground and essentially beaten into a pulp on the concrete yard floor. And we get a cutaway, a fade to black, and some title text saying Tel Aviv 3 weeks earlier. And we're now watching a dance performance featuring Colleen Ohm as Danielle Wexler as Eli. And it's one of those sort of very modern interpretive dance things. A lot of female dancers doing bizarre leg kicks and sort of esoteric music, and it's a very modern kind of performance. And watching in the stalls is Sergeyev and his daughter Ella. And the performance finishes and they stand up and clap. There's a standing ovation from the crowd. They really enjoyed the performance. They meet up with Danielle outside. She is Sergeyev's new wife, and Ella is therefore her stepdaughter. She's about 14, 15 years old. And she wants to go and grab pizza afterwards, but they can't because they need to go back to their house and pack because Danielle tomorrow is flying out to New York for a dance audition for a big Broadway show. And Sergeyev is obviously not happy about Danielle going, really. He sort of grits his teeth every time the subject's mentioned. But anyway, they get back, they pack. Next day, Sergeyev says bye to Danielle. Danielle gets in her cab to go to the airport. Sergeyev gets into his big Land Rover with his daughter to drop her off at school. And as they're leaving the house, they notice a strange man sitting in a car outside the house. Sergeyev pulls up to him and says, can I help you? And the guy says, oh, no, I'm supposed to be meeting someone here. It's fine. Sergeyev thinks this is a bit suspicious, but he drives away regardless. He drops Ella off at school and he goes to his day job, which is as a tour guide in Israel. So he slaps a sticker on the side of the Land Rover and he picks up a group of sort of young hippie tourists from the airport and says, welcome guys, I'm going to show you all the sights of Israel. I'm going to show you all the ancient Jerusalem stuff, aqueducts, King Herod built this, all that kind of thing. That's what he's doing as a day gig these days. Danielle, meanwhile, is in her cab. She's being driven by a family friend. They all know the cab driver. And along the way, he decides that seeing as they've got time before they get to the airport, why don't they pull over and grab a coffee for along the way? So they pull over outside this coffee shop in Tel Aviv. Danielle goes inside, buys a couple of coffees, comes back out, and she passes some old men playing chess outside this cafe. And they're saying, oh, hi, Danielle, how are you? And she's sort of laughing and joking with them. She starts to walk backwards into the street when she's suddenly and brutally struck down by a speeding BMW. In fact, struck down is wrong. She goes cartwheeling over the top of it in very, very brutal and shocking fashion. And she's left having a seizure on the road as everybody runs out and attempts to help her. We cut back to Sergeyev. He's with his tour group. He's showing them some sights. And he gets a phone call saying that his wife is now in mortal danger. He needs to get to the hospital immediately. So he jumps in his car. He abandons the tour group. He speeds his way through Tel Aviv. He makes it to the hospital. Several of his relatives have made it there before him, and they're trying to calm him down, and he is sort of beside himself with anguish. He's eventually shown into a room where Danielle is bedridden, and the doctors say, we worked on her as hard as we could, but she's still breathing, but she's brain dead. Her brain injuries were so bad, she is essentially dead, and you need to say your last goodbyes. Understandably, Sergeyev is in absolute bits at this point. He goes outside the hospital to calm himself down, and he meets up with Tali, played by Morin Rosenblatt, who is sort of a family friend and a detective with the Tel Aviv Police Department. As she says, look, this is a terrible thing to have happened to you. I'm going to start investigating immediately. I'm going to get on this case. I'm going to find out who knocked Danielle down, and I'm going to report back to you. So, I'm terribly sorry for your anguish, but I'm going to try and make this as right as it can possibly be. Sergeyev goes back to his house that evening with his daughter Ella, and he's explained to her at this point what's happened to her stepmother, and they're both in bits. And when they reach the house, he notices that Danielle's phone is ringing. He picks up the phone, and there's a man's voice on the other end that says something like, how are you doing, my love? And he goes, my love? What the fuck? Who is this? And the phone gets put down. So he's now starting to get sort of incandescent with rage. He's noticed previously that she's been on her phone quite often. And he was very obviously sort of trying to put that to one side, but he was suspicious of what Danielle might be doing and why she was going to New York in the first place. He goes to bed that evening, and he sleeps in the same bed as his daughter to calm her down. And in the middle of the night, there is a crashing and a knocking downstairs. So he goes downstairs to investigate, and there is a masked man going through his things. Sergeyev gets into a very, very brutal fight with this masked man. The guy's got a knife, he's slashing at him. Sergeyev manages to disarm the guy, twist him round, and snap his neck in extremely brutal fashion. He searches the guy. He finds no identification, but he does find that the guy was carrying a gun. So he takes the gun, he cocks it, he puts it in the back of his trousers. He grabs his daughter from the bedroom, who's now awake because she heard the commotion downstairs. He picks her up, puts her over his shoulder and says, just close your eyes. Don't look at anything downstairs. I can't tell you what's going on. Just close your eyes. I'm going to get you out of there. So he walks past the dead body that's now lying in his living room. He gets in his car and he races to the daughter's mother to leave her for safekeeping, so to speak. He races back to his house, and along the way, he calls the police and says, look, someone broke into my house and I murdered them, and they're lying on my living room floor. You need to come in right now and investigate. I want everything to be above board. This is what's happened to me. He gets back to the house. He pushes open the door and finds that the body of the man he's murdered has disappeared.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 indeed. So Sergeyev now has to put together why this guy was invading his house, what his wife was up to and the double life she's been living. And obviously, as you might have guessed from Sergeyev being able to brutally snap someone's neck, he has a very distinct past of his own to contend with. That's where I'll leave it in terms of plot setup, except I will say that shortly after that in the second episode, Sergeyev travels to New York. So this show is mostly set between Tel Aviv and New York. You got Tali, the cop, back at home doing the investigation, and you've got Sergeyev going to New York to try and find out what Danielle's double life might have been and how it ties into someone attempting to murder him the night after she died. All clear and on the up and up?
Yeah, I don't want to be too mired in stereotypes, but is Sergeyev an enthusiast of Krav Maga by any chance?
Yes. Yeah.
You said, like, Israeli.
Well, I'll say it now because it ties into the trivia later. It is revealed that Sergeyev, and this is very obvious from both the look of the guy and his should we say aptitude towards violence, that Sergeyev was Israeli Special Forces.
His particular set of skills.
Yeah, that's actually where I'd like to start. From that description, I think what this probably sounds like is another one of those, which is a Taken or a John Wick. Man has ordinary life. Terrible thing happens to him. Man reveals himself to be ex-Special Forces. Man goes mental, lots of violence, solves the case, and everyone goes home for tea. One of the things I appreciated about this show is that it actually doesn't do that. It's much more of a gritty, down-to-earth thriller than it is a straight-up action movie.
Quite character-driven.
Yeah, absolutely. And that actually leads me in rather nicely. It's a bit of a mixed bag, this, actually. I very much appreciated the fact that it didn't go down the John Wick route, although there is brutal violence in it, and it comes out of nowhere, which I kind of liked more than that constant thing of, John Wick's always about to get into a fight, and then he kills 50 people, all that kind of stuff. There's more realism to the violence and the violent scenarios than that. It's primarily driven by Lior Raz's performance as Sergeyev, which I'm not joking, is stunning. Is a stunning piece of performance. His grief when he finds out that Danielle has died is palpable. There's something about seeing, I've described him at the start as like a Joe Rogan kind of guy. He's a big meathead looking dude, essentially. There's something about seeing a guy like that break down that makes your heart hurt. And there's definitely something in the quality of his performance. I was reading up on Lior Raz earlier, and he was actually ex-Israeli Special Forces, the real actor himself. And he had a girlfriend murdered when he was a lot younger. And I didn't know that before watching this show. Now knowing that fact and watching it makes those scenes all the more palpable. His grief is really apparent. It's incredible to see that kind of acting ability coming from a guy that looks, for all intents and purposes, like he should be an extra in a film. He should play goon number one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? His performance is actually stunning, and it's the main thing that pulls you through the thread of this show. There's other good performances as well. Morin Rosenblatt as Tali is very, very well characterized as well. In fact, all of the acting is, I was about to say, more than passable. It's better than that. It's genuinely good. That's not to say it doesn't have some downsides. It's 9 episodes long, which is an odd number.
So it's a limited series. It's not a...
Well, it ends on a cliffhanger that very obviously suggests that season 2 is in the works. Personally, I think it's too long. I think it should have 7 episodes cut out of those 9. And the 8th non-existent episode be the resolution to the cliffhanger that the show ends on. It's oddly paced in that way. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There's also a believability issue, and it's odd this because there's a huge amount of believability brought to the show by Lior Raz because he was ex-Special Forces and because he has gone through heartbreak in his life. That's so realistic that it's lovely to watch, and by which I mean kind of heartbreaking and kind of brutal and visceral in all the ways that should be. He really is able to do that, and that's a lovely bit of realism that really adds some weight and heft to the action in this show. The problem is in terms of the narrative and the plot that the scenarios that he finds himself in become more and more unrealistic as the show goes on. That's not to say it descends into John Wick uber violence, but Sergeyev repeatedly escapes from scenarios that initially you think, well, yeah, maybe an Israeli ex-Special Forces guy could do that. And by the end of it, you're thinking, nah, it's actually gone past the point of believability now. So you get this weird dichotomy between it being very, very realistic and very unrealistic at the same time. You've got the actor doing all the heavy lifting, really. You've got Lior Raz doing everything he possibly can to make this character believable, and that's great, and that really works for you. Meanwhile, it's like the script is trying to foil him at certain points to make it unbelievable at the same time. I found that to be a bit of an issue. However, overall, it's quite a compelling piece of work. It's a little bit baggy in places, but the performances make up for it. The writing goes off on tangents and there's some side characters that don't need to be there, even though that is the case. Overall, it still comes together as a coherent piece of work. The reviews I've seen for this so far have been very much split down the middle between people pasting it, going the narrative becomes unrealistic, and people adoring it essentially because of that central lead performance. Me, personally, the central lead performance is good enough that I actually enjoyed it as an overall piece of work. I think it's misguided in the way it's been put together. I think it very possibly hasn't necessarily earned a second season. And it may be them stretching and essentially taking one season's worth of plot and spreading it over two. That certainly seems to be where it's going from this point forward. And that is a shame because there's a really great show in there. It just needs editing down. It needs to be briefer and tighter and more focused as a narrative. But overall, there's enough good facets in there and there is such a fantastic lead performance that I would recommend it. I mean, you got to see this guy. A big meathead, really like realistically tough looking guy. The finesse that he puts into that character is astounding, really. It's just great to watch him work.
Do you think, like, I don't know, like when you were describing about how he suffered like this appalling thing earlier in his real life, do you think like this role may be some sort of like symbolic retributive journey?
Now that I know that about him, like I said, I don't look up anything about a show before I start watching it. Really. I like to go in as blind as possible because I feel like it makes me as objective as possible as to what it's like for the average viewer. Just clicking it on Netflix and seeing what you find. I was watching those scenes of grief he was doing and going, wow, this guy's got serious acting ability. I mean, I almost felt a little bit teary. He was emoting that well. He was really creating like an empathic reaction with me through his performance. Knowing now what I know about his background and his past, I would say he's drawing off of those experiences in a way that's so impressive. I mean, actors talk about being able to recall traumatic moments in their lives as a skill. So, for a tearful scene, for example, you get to that place by bringing up traumatic events, and it's an old method of, I can't remember if it's Stanislav or whatever, but he's definitely doing that to a level and a degree that I did not expect from him.
Yeah,
that combined with his believability and his physique and the way he handles the violence does make for a very, very compelling lead.
It sounds interesting. It's just when you mentioned that he was, genuinely ex-special forces and that he had like somebody he loved actually viciously taken from him. Just made it, like what popped into my head was like the guy who did the original graphic novel of The Crow. Like his girlfriend was actually killed by, I think it was a drunk driver, and so he created The Crow as a sort of an imagined.
Like a manifestation.
Like a vengeful closure that he never actually got to have himself.
This may very well be the case here as well. Yeah. And Leo Raz actually had a hand in the writing as well. So I imagine that's part of it. Like I said, it's got some pacing issues. It's got some believability issues. But that performance he's just one of those actors. Occasionally you spot an actor and you go, you know what, I'm going to watch you. Anything you turn up in from this point forward, I'm going to watch that because he's got serious ability and I'd love to see more of it. Also, fun bit of trivia on him. For quite a while, he was Arnold Schwarzenegger's bodyguard.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It gives you an idea of the ability of the man as well and the physique of the man. But that just adds so much to the authenticity of it.
In the final analysis, this is worth watching, yeah?
Yeah, I would say watch it for that performance, let it guide you through. And for the baggy bits, they're not too bad. They're just flies in the ointment. Overall, I'd say it's a good experience and worth watching, yeah.
Cool. Well, I mean, it sounds very interesting. So yeah, I'll have to keep my eye out for
one to watch out for. Anything he turns up in, Leo Raz, he's got some serious go in him. Really does.
Sweet.
Okay then. Well, let's finish off with some trivia as we always do. I'm pretty sure my Googling this afternoon has put me on many watch lists.
That's always the best kind of Googling.
Not for the reasons you might think. Because I thought, well, I'll do special forces trivia. So I spent my afternoon Googling various different types of special forces. And would you believe it, it's quite hard to get information on a lot of them and obviously puts you in a tenuous position. I think if that ever comes up, why were you Googling about the SAS and the Israeli defense and all this kind of stuff? But I did it anyway.
Are you by any chance intrigued by the weaponry they use?
I'm making apologies on this podcast so that it ever comes up. If I'm trying to get into a country and I get hauled off to a room somewhere, I can say, well, listen to episode 79, I think, and you'll see the reason why I was doing the research. Entertainment and informing. Honestly, guys, honestly. But yeah, Special Forces trivia, I thought we'd finish off with.
Oh, yes. Yummy.
The Groupe d'Intervention de la Gendarmerie Nationale is one of the world's most combat-experienced counter-terrorist organizations. Somewhere between a SWAT team and Delta Force, the French GIGN responds to terrorist threats or domestic attacks. Their training program is notoriously brutal and lasts 14 months. One documentary team followed a group of potential recruits and saw 120 of them whittled down to 18 in 2 weeks. It includes one of the best marksmanship schools in the world, weapons, handling, airborne courses including halo jumps, hand-to-hand combat, diving, survival training, and explosive ordnance disposal. These guys are lethal, but they value fire discipline. Rumour has it that they're issued just a 6-shot .357 revolver as their official sidearm, with only 6 rounds.
Damn, they sound pretty scary.
Only 6 rounds, that seems like an arbitrary enforcement, you know what I mean?
So, to fire 6 shots or only 5?
Yeah.
Or, did he fire 6 shots or only 5?
Yeah, but you wouldn't think when you think of special forces, you wouldn't think of like the French special forces as being up there, would you? But apparently so. Yeah, apparently they're.
Well, people always seem to demonise the French for their apparent lack of guile in militaristic / general combat situations. But from the sound of it, that unit is pretty fucking bad.
It's one of those old. I know a bit of this from my hobbyist history as well. Is that whole thing about the French surrendering a lot? If you look at the majority of their military history, they were a very, very powerful military. There's only some more recent events, which is the thing about, the French are cowards and they run away. If you look at their whole history, they're a force to be reckoned with and have been for a very long time.
Try calling, obviously, but if you were to go back in time, try calling Napoleon Bonaparte a cheese-eating surrender monkey.
Precisely.
And see what happens. Yeah. I know he was Corsican, but still, he was fucking French.
The UK's elite Navy force, Special Boat Service, is as old as World War II. They are adept at boating, swimming, and anything involving water. Moreover, they are also great for operations in any climate or terrain. Interestingly enough, the more widely known US Navy SEALs may have been inspired by the Special Boat Service, as the SBS predates the former. At the time of World War II, a British commando gave rise to this entirely new unit that continues to be in existence to this day. According to oral history, a British commando named Roger Courtney tried convincing his superiors about his clever ways to sneak across the water without being detected so as to reach enemy territory. With his superiors not buying this idea, Courtney actually sneaked onto a nearby British ship named HMS Glengyle, stole a gun cover from the deck, and etched his initials on the captain's door. After that, he presented his findings to his superiors, who decided that he needed his own men to command. So, from these plucky beginnings, the Special Boat Service came into being.
Oh, well, that's pretty cool.
I love that. You think I can't do it? Well, how about I sneak onto one of your ships? Not as secure as you thought they were, huh? Yeah.
Quick, let's do something nice before he totally mugged us off.
The British Special Air Service, known as the SAS, is the infantry counterpart to the Special Boat Service. Their insignia bears the phrase, "Who dares wins." Except for the reserve component, the United Kingdom Special Forces do not recruit directly from the general public. All current members of the UK Armed Forces can apply for Special Forces selection, but the majority of candidates have historically come from a Royal Marines or Parachute Regiment background. Selections are held twice a year, once in summer and again in winter. Taking place in Wales, selection lasts for 5 weeks and normally starts with approximately 200 potential candidates. Candidates complete a personal fitness test upon arrival, which consists of at least 50 sit-ups in 2 minutes, 60 press-ups in 2 minutes, and a 1.5-mile run in 10 minutes and 30 seconds. They then complete an annual fitness test, which consists of marching 8 miles in 2 hours while carrying 25 pounds of equipment. Candidates then march cross-country against the clock, increasing the distance covered each day. This culminates in an endurance test known as the Endurance, in which candidates march 40 miles with full equipment before climbing up and down the mountain Pen y Fan. By the end of this phase, candidates must then be able to run 4 miles in 30 minutes or less and swim 2 miles in 90 minutes or less. Following mountain training, it goes on. The jungle phase takes place in Belize, Brunei, or Malaysia. Candidates are taught navigation, patrol formation and movement, and jungle survival skills. They then return to the UK to begin training in battle plans and foreign weapons, and then take part in combat survival exercises, ending in a week-long escape and evasion training. Candidates are formed into patrols and, with nothing more than a tin can filled with survival equipment, are dressed in World War II-era uniforms and told to head for a particular destination by sunrise. The final selection test, Resistance to Interrogation, is arguably the most grueling and lasts for 36 hours.
Fucking hell, man.
All of that sounds like hell.
Yeah.
But then you kind of would expect it with the SAS.
Do you know that Andy McNabb has actually, I think he's taken several psychological tests, and Andy McNabb is, he admits this freely, he is very sociopathic.
Sure, I think you kind of have to be.
He's
to be able to get through that. I think they look for that.
Yeah, he's very candid about it. He's like, I'm not a normal person. I actually have a lot of correlates.
That's
with,
the thing. I mean,
antisocial personalities.
They're not looking for normal people.
No.
Are they? They're looking for people that can do the extreme. And it's not on my trivia here, but I've done my own research and read things over the years. I mean, the SAS are regarded, even by other special forces, as very likely to be the world's best. Yeah. And they really are, even other special forces are kind of scared of their ability. But yeah, that's literally all the information you can get on them. They'll let you know what the endurance training program is. Other than that, everything goes dark, which is kind of scary in of itself, isn't it?
Didn't they have, did they have like Gibraltar? Is it in the Lion in Gibraltar where they have like sort of cavernous little, training things like in the actual
I didn't know that. Yeah, maybe.
I think they do. I think in the rock itself of Gibraltar, like the Lion Rock, I think that the SAS have like sort of little routes within the rock where they do manoeuvres. I'm pretty sure that's right. Might be talking about Mars.
Yeah, they are designed to be terrifying, and they are brutally effective. If you look at the few operations that have been declassified, I mean, unbelievably effective. It's amazing what even one SAS soldier can do by himself. It's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
it's worth a bit of researching if you don't mind your internet history.
Because I remember reading. I think it was the one who got. Was it the one who got away? I just watching interviews, obviously with his face blurred out. But Andy McNabb, I remember he once said, like, he goes, as far as I'm concerned, I do love my wife. She's important to me. But if I had to leave her tomorrow, it was imperative. I would be able to do so just in complete autopilot, like machination mode. And to me, that sounds very disturbing. But I mean, it sounds completely, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's fascinating and troubling stuff.
Delta Force is the US Army's elite counterterrorism unit, with Army Rangers and Green Berets amongst its numbers, but it also has operators from the Navy and Air Force. Most of the missions executed by Delta Force remain classified, and it's rare to find an official document that even acknowledges the unit. But one of its most notable accomplishments includes Operation Red Dawn and the capture of Saddam Hussein. A leaked recruiting video gave a glimpse of different training methods for Delta Force, including tactical driving, vehicle takedowns, and assaulted team tactics. A testament to their precision, one of their final exams includes breaching operations with fellow team members playing the hostage as his brothers live fire against targets nearby. The operation builds trust within the team and provides the shooter a somber reminder not to hit the hostages. That's pretty hardcore, isn't it? Live rounds.
That is very hardcore, yeah.
And the hostages in this scenario are the people you've trained with for X amount of months, years, etc.
I think it's like the elimination process is whose little arsehole goes like this.
Yep.
And who is as cool as a cucumber.
Ultimate confidence to walk into a room with a gun and start firing above and next to hostages, and that's what they're looking for, isn't it? Someone that won't, as you say, tighten their arsehole when that happens, someone that can just do it.
Wonder how many fatalities are covered up during those exercises.
Yeah, very possibly, although, once again, we're going to be investigating.
Yeah.
And my final fact here, I like to finish off with a slightly amusing one. Not a lot is known about the North Korean elite forces. However, they are thought to have several advanced technologies such as hovercrafts and biological weapons. However, one North Korean elite force seems to prefer to stick to more traditional machines. They use a small wooden Soviet plane, first created in 1947. does sound slightly rubbish, doesn't it?
Yeah. As you say, the special forces equivalent of a, the news clip of a cat going down the street on a skateboard. It's just like, it's not. I know the Democratic Republic of North Korea is a scary and very weird place.
Oh, sure.
It is also fucking goofy as hell.
It does make a lot of sense that even their special forces would be massively underfunded.
Yeah. I think it was you who first told me that their technology is. It is 1970s
for the most part. Yeah, Another interesting fact is that they don't let their jet pilots go up very often. Because number one, jet fuel is at an absolute premium in North Korea. They don't have a lot of it. And number two, if you give a North Korean pilot a fighter jet fully fueled, they have a tendency just to fuck off.
Yeah. Yes.
Land somewhere in Russia and claim asylum.
That is a smart person, and thankfully a sign of one who hasn't fully drunk the Kool-Aid, because you don't really have a... But then, I'll make it sound like drinking the Kool-Aid in North Korea is a choice. And
no, it's not.
By and large,
it's terrifically sad, actually. I mean, we laugh about it, but,
Oh, no, none of these...
We laugh because otherwise you'd cry, really.
None of the people can be blamed, but there have been many people who have, they've never... They just managed to elude the brainwashing, and I actually feel the worst for those people.
Yeah,
because they're desperate to get out, and they probably never will.
Like anywhere else in the world, the vast majority are lovely people that deserve a lot better. Unfortunately, the regime is what it is. Anyway, we went all political at the end, but a good point, I think.
It is, yeah.
Okay, then that brings us to the end of our free podcast this week. Thank you so much for listening. We're going to record the premium podcast now. Liam, you got a couple of extra takes?
Yes, I do indeed have a couple of extra takes. I'm going to be taking a look, because during my time off, I got through a lot of the Fargo TV series, which is one that's been out for a few years now, and neither of us have ever dabbled in before. And then I got a movie called Face, which is one of the dregs from our Winston coverage, but it is like a good little British crime film. And then, I think we're going to have a bit of a chat about Mr. Kilmer.
Val Kilmer, I watched the documentary Val today, and oh my God, it's I've got so much to say about it. And we thought we'd just have a quick run through of some of our favorite Val Kilmer performances, and like I said, I've got a lot to say about it. For the free listeners, it's just go and give it a watch. But if you'd like a more in-depth thing, then I'm about to do that. And if any of that sounds interesting to you, please do check out cinementalist.com for a link to our Patreon page. You can follow us at Cinementalcast on Twitter, and you can follow Liam at
the Movies, and I'm at Wacko Jacko's Flicks.
Okay, brilliant. Well, that wraps us up for this week. Hope to see you on the premium. If not, see you on the free one next week. Anything to add?
No, just thank you as always, people. Go and check out some shit. And just keep on having a good time. We value your time, and just have a good one, okay?
All right, take it easy, guys. See you soon.